Just hand them the key, Dad, she whispered like it was nothing. Her eyes didn't tremble. His did. I looked down at the house key in my palm, the one I'd used every day since she was born. Now it felt heavier than my wedding ring. I'm sorry, she added. But I knew sorry had already left the room. Behind me, the deadbolt clicked. The sound of the coffee machine was the only thing that still obeyed me in that house. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the steam rising from the pot, wondering when exactly this place stopped feeling like mine. The cabinets had new handles. The fridge was covered in someone else's magnets. And my old rocking chair, the one I'd bought when my wife was pregnant, was gone. Replaced by some sleek, colorless bench that looked like it belonged in a dentist's office. I reached for the drawer where I always kept the house key. Top right, next to the flashlight, same place for 27 years. Empty. Just a rubber band and an old takeout menu. I checked the side drawer. Nothing. The coat rack? Only his jacket hung there. Not mine. I heard footsteps behind me, light and rehearsed. My daughter, moving through her own home like she was dodging ghosts. Morning, I said. She smiled, but it didn't touch her eyes. I thought you were sleeping in. I did. It's 7. She blinked, like that was too early for a retired man. Oh. That was the conversation. She disappeared down the hall. No coffee offer. No chat. No, how did you sleep, Dad? Just. Oh. The house key. It wasn't just about access. It was identity. I'd built this house with my own hands, every nail and beam, even if the bank technically owned it. When my wife died, the first thing I did was hold the key tighter. It wasn't just metal. It was memory. And now, it had disappeared without warning. I walked into the living room. He was already there. The son-in-law. Jordan. Feet on my table, remote in hand, volume up. Watching some stock market channel like he actually understood any of it. Morning, I said. He didn't look at me. Just nodded, sipped his green smoothie. I didn't know what was in it, but it looked like something you'd scrape off the bottom of a lawnmower. Have you seen the house key? He blinked slowly, then muted the TV. Which one? There was only ever one. The original. Brass head. Long teeth. I always kept it in the drawer. He shrugged. Oh. She moved some stuff around. Probably in the bowl by the stairs. The bowl by the stairs was where guests dropped their keys. Not family. Right, I said, and walked away. I passed the hallway photo wall. There were new pictures now, him and her, dressed up, smiling. The old family photo with my wife was pushed into the corner, barely in frame. That photo used to hang by itself. In the bowl by the stairs, I found it, or at least, a key. It looked similar, but the teeth were filed down. The metal was shinier, newer. I turned it over. It wasn't worn at all. A copy. A clean, cold replica. I felt it then. Like standing in your own home and realizing the pictures on the wall aren't yours anymore. When my wife was alive, mornings were sacred. We'd drink coffee in the sunroom, talk about little nothings. She'd always say, the day you don't recognize your own kitchen is the day you've lost something big. I stood in the sunroom now, coffee in hand, staring out the window, alone. A shadow moved behind me in the reflection. I turned. Jordan was standing in the hallway, arms crossed. Not saying anything. Just, watching. Need something? I asked. He shook his head. No. Just checking if you were still here. Still here. As if I were a house guest. As if my time had expired and someone had forgotten to tell me. He turned and walked away, the sound of his footsteps deliberate. Not heavy, but enough that you knew he wanted you to hear them. My phone buzzed. A calendar notification popped up. Jordan's family arrives Friday, guest room prep. Guest room. That used to be my room. They hadn't even told me company was coming. I walked back to the kitchen, poured another cup of coffee. My hands shook. Not from age, from restraint. When did I stop being the father and become the burden? I looked at the fake key in my hand. That wasn't just a replacement. It was a warning. Like giving a toy sword to a man who used to wield a real one. The day crept forward in slow, painful inches. No one said much. She was on her laptop. He took calls loudly on speakerphone. I ate my sandwich alone at the counter. That night, after brushing my teeth, I reached for my usual water glass. It was gone. Replaced with one of those tall, stemless wine things. I hated those. I stood there, holding the glass, staring into the bathroom mirror. And then I heard it. From the hallway, through the thin bedroom wall. My daughter's voice. Soft, nervous. He'll leave soon. He's just getting used to it. A pause. His voice. He needs to stop acting like this is his house. No reply. Only silence. I put the glass down. I stepped into the hallway. The bedroom door was closed, the light leaking from under the crack. I didn't say a word. But I saw it. His shadow crossed my doorway, like a warning. The smell of roast chicken used to mean comfort in our house. Now it just meant performance. They'd invited guests, Pastor Rick and Mrs. Darnell from next door. The kind of people you don't feed unless you want them to talk. Which meant tonight wasn't a meal. It was a stage. Jordan wore a blazer, no tie, trying to look humble. My daughter wore pearls she hadn't touched since her mother's funeral. And me? I wore the only thing I had, an old button-down, sleeves frayed, collar faded. The one my wife used to iron. Dinner started with polite lies. Weather. Church. Traffic. The usual armor people wear before the knives come out. Pastor Rick smiled at me, cutting into his food. Still getting used to retirement, huh? I nodded. Still getting used to a house that doesn't say good morning back. Awkward silence. Mrs. Darnell chuckled nervously. Oh, that's just poetic talk, right? I didn't answer. My eyes were on the centerpiece, something new, some fake wood lantern thing with battery candles. The old ceramic bowl my wife loved? Gone. Halfway through the meal, Jordan cleared his throat. You know, we've been talking, he said casually, setting his fork down like he was about to present a business proposal. About? I asked. He glanced at my daughter. She wouldn't look at me. The living situation, he said. We want to make sure everyone's comfortable. Everyone? I asked. He smiled. This house is changing. We've got family coming, we've got long-term plans. And honestly, Dad. Don't call me that. You've been kind of resistant. Resistant. Pastor Rick shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Darnell sipped her wine too fast. I folded my napkin slowly. You're saying I make you uncomfortable in my own home. I'm saying maybe we need boundaries, he said. Like who makes decisions? Who answers the door? Who holds the key? My fingers curled under the table. He wasn't just testing me. He was inviting witnesses. You want me out, I said flatly. He raised his hands like I'd just said something crazy. No one's saying that. But my daughter did. Quietly. We just think maybe it's time you had your own space. Maybe an apartment closer to the park, something manageable. Independent. I looked at her. Is that what you think I am? A man who can't manage a house he built. Dad, she whispered. I changed your diapers. I fixed your car when he wouldn't. I bought this house in '91 with a toolbox and calluses. And now you're asking me to leave it. Pastor Rick cleared his throat. I think maybe we should give them a moment. No, Jordan cut in. They need to hear it. People tiptoe around this stuff too much. He turned back to me, full of false confidence. It's not just about the space. It's about respect. This is our home now. And if you can't get on board. He trailed off, leaving the rest hanging like a loaded gun. My daughter reached out and touched his arm. As if that somehow made him brave. I glanced at the table. There, next to my untouched plate, sat the key. The same brass one I'd found in the stairwell bowl. Clean. Untouched. Like a trophy nobody wanted to hold. I didn't touch it either. Pastor Rick opened his mouth again, but stopped. His eyes were on the key now too. You know what, I said. You don't have to say it. I'll do it for you. I stood, pushed my chair in gently. You want me to respect the new structure, obey the rules, accept the role you've given me. That's not respect. That's rehoming an old dog. No one said that, my daughter said, rising too. You didn't have to, I replied. I turned to Pastor Rick and Mrs. Darnell. Sorry to make your dinner uncomfortable, I said. But maybe it's better you heard this here. Maybe it's better the truth got served alongside the chicken. Jordan chuckled. Always so dramatic. I leaned forward slightly. You invited an audience. Don't act surprised when the show starts. I turned to walk out. He stopped me with one last line, tossed like a match on gasoline. So, when are you packing? I didn't look back. Didn't flinch. But I heard Mrs. Darnell gasp. I heard Pastor Rick mutter, that's too far. That's when I knew it had begun. Not the fight. The fallout. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from the bank. Your mortgage account has been updated. I hadn't touched that account in over a year. The last time I set foot in the bank, the teller gave me a cupcake for turning 65. I logged in. My name wasn't listed as primary anymore. It was still there, but underneath theirs. Jordan and my daughter, co-owners, with editing access. I scrolled, looking for authorization records. There it was. Electronic signature, redacted. Confirmed. Timestamp, 6:14 p.m., Sunday. Dinner night. The same night they served roast chicken and betrayal. I rubbed my thumb over the side of the phone. I didn't remember signing anything. No call. No visit. No paperwork. Unless someone used a stored signature. My daughter once asked me to approve a digital document on her laptop, just a permit, she said. I'd clicked through it while watching football. I didn't even read it. My stomach dropped. I got up, went to the hallway drawer. Not the one near the coat rack, the old one, in the study. My safe drawer. Where I kept my deed copy. The original house papers. Gone. All I found was a plastic Ziploc bag of screws and a broken flashlight. Not even my label maker was there. The folder was missing. I turned, walked straight into the living room. Jordan was sipping orange juice on the couch. I didn't sit. You accessed my mortgage, I said. He raised an eyebrow. Good morning to you too. Answer me. He smirked. Technically, it's our mortgage now. That's not what the bank said when I opened it in '91. He leaned back, propped one arm across the top of the sofa. Yeah, but things change. Laws change. Ownership shifts. It's modern family stuff. You used my signature. He shrugged. You clicked approve. That's all the court needs. My fists clenched. My daughter walked in then, holding a bowl of cereal, pretending not to hear. I trusted you, I said. She stopped, blinked. I trusted you when you said it was just for a permit. I trusted you when you said the key was just moved. I trusted you when you invited me into this house after your mother died. Her voice was thin. You still live here, Dad. No, I said. I exist here. There's a difference. Jordan snorted. Man, you're really into speeches. I turned to him. I don't make speeches. I make payments. Or at least, I did, until now. He raised his glass. Cheers. I walked away before I did something I couldn't undo. Back in my room, I sat on the edge of the bed, key in hand. Not the old one. The replacement. The fake. It was too smooth. Too perfect. Like it had never belonged in a real door. A stranger's tooth in a stranger's lock. I turned it over. No scratches. No weight. Just shape without history. That key wasn't just a duplicate. It was a placeholder. A placeholder for a man who used to be needed. I opened my closet, reached up, pulled down the box where I kept the last envelope from the mortgage company. It had my original documents, at least, I hoped. Nothing. Empty. Just another copy of the fake key taped inside, like a cruel joke. If you're still here, don't forget to subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. What would you do if this happened to you? I closed the box and stared at the drawer. How do you prove something is yours when even the paper's been stolen? I called the bank. The woman on the line was polite, professional. She said the changes were submitted via co-resident login with verified email. My daughter's name. She had access to my inbox years ago. Can I reverse it? You'd need legal action, she said. But we'll flag the account for suspicious changes. Suspicious. I was suspicious in my own life now. That night, I didn't eat dinner. I just sat in the sunroom, staring out at the garden I planted with my wife. The same garden now trampled by Jordan's nephews last weekend. The house groaned against the wind. Floorboards remembered things even people didn't. And then I noticed something odd. The key I'd held, the fake, was gone. I always left it on the desk after pacing. I checked the desk. Gone. I checked the bowl by the stairs. Nothing. I looked around, even checked under the couch. Gone. And then I found it. In the trash bin in the kitchen. Under a banana peel, beside a torn grocery receipt. Like it didn't matter. Like someone had thrown it away and didn't even care enough to hide it. I picked it up slowly. Brushed off the peel. Held it in my hand. When I checked the drawer again, the key was a stranger's. The suitcase made no sound when I opened it. Old zippers don't cry. They hiss. I laid it on the bed like I was preparing an altar. Shirts. Toothbrush. The shaving kit my daughter gave me 5 Father's Days ago. Every item I packed wasn't surrender. It was a marker. A declaration. Let them think they'd won. Let them think I was leaving to avoid the fire. I was leaving to light one. I zipped the bag halfway, then paused. Reached for the coat on the back of my chair. Felt inside the inner pocket. The key was still there. The fake one. Clean. Cold. Still shaped like my home, still empty as a stranger's smile. I held it in my palm for a moment. Then I did something I hadn't done in years, I kissed it. Not for sentiment. For memory. For fury. They didn't just take my key. They replaced it before I noticed. That's what betrayal is, it doesn't knock. It switches the lock. I grabbed the envelope with my birth certificate, social, pension papers, whatever scraps of proof I still had left that I existed as more than a burden. When I walked out of the bedroom, the hallway was silent. But they were watching. She stood in the kitchen doorway, hand on the fridge like she needed it to stay upright. He leaned against the island, arms crossed. I didn't say a word. I just walked past them. Bag in one hand. Key in the other. "Dad," she said. I stopped. She walked closer, voice trembling. "You're not, this isn't about kicking you out." "You signed me out," I said. "You just didn't print the papers." "I was scared," she whispered. "You looked tired. You looked done." "Done?" I turned to face her. I looked like a man who lost his wife and kept standing. Jordan stepped in. "Let's not do this now." I faced him square. "Oh, I'd love to." He raised his hands. "This is drama. You always stir the pot." "No," I said. "I used to set the table. Before you brought plastic forks to a feast." Her voice cracked. "Can't we just reset? Talk later?" I nodded. "We will. Just not here. Not in this echo chamber of politeness and lies." She started crying. Real tears. It almost broke me. But not quite. "You know what I told your mother when we bought this house?" I asked. She didn't respond. I answered for her. I said, "One day, this place will hold everything we built, even when we're not in it." I walked to the door. The one I installed. The one I painted 3 times. Guess I was right. I opened it. Jordan's voice followed me like static. "You walking away?" I turned, met his eyes. They thought I was leaving the fight. I was leaving the battlefield. The door shut behind me. The motel smelled like bleach and old coffee. It was the kind of place people go when their world is burning, and all they can do is fan the flames. The desk clerk didn't ask questions. Just slid me a plastic card and said, "Checkout's noon. Ice machine's broken. Room 112. I sat on the edge of the bed and exhaled for the first time in days. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the key. Even here, among cracked tiles and buzzing lights, it still meant something. Not access. Memory. Proof. But more than anything, it was now a trigger. I turned on the lamp, opened the Bible in the bedside drawer. Slipped the key inside between the pages of Exodus. Wrapped a rubber band around the cover. Like a fuse. I sat there for an hour. Just breathing. Listening to the silence. Then I made a list. Bank. Lawyer. Storage. Account access. Name removal. And at the very top. They will not inherit the house they dismantled. The motel clock ticked like a countdown. When my phone buzzed, I let it ring. I was no longer answering calls from people who'd already made decisions for me. Outside the window, the wind shook the vending machine sign. M&Ms for $2. Inside, I had 2 shirts, a Bible, and a key that didn't open anything anymore, but still unlocked everything I needed to do next. They thought I would bend. I packed war in that suitcase. Motel mornings aren't soft. The walls are thin. The heat clanks. And the light from the parking lot never really goes out. I poured powdered creamer into stale coffee and sat at the chipped table with my notepad. The house key sat in the Bible, wrapped in rubber band and patience. A fuse waiting for flame. My phone buzzed. It was Linda, the neighbor from 3 doors down. I'm sorry, but you need to see this. Attached were 3 screenshots. A Facebook post from my daughter. When your own father makes you choose between love and loyalty, and you choose growth. Comments underneath ranged from vague pity to brutal shade. Some people get toxic with age. Boundaries are healthy. Proud of you. He always seemed controlling. Then the kicker. Jordan's reply. He left without warning. After everything we did for him. We're just trying to build a future. No mention of the forged documents. No mention of my name wiped from the mortgage. No mention of me buying that house brick by damn brick. Just performance. I sipped my coffee and scrolled again. Linda had added one more message. They told people you stormed out. That you were unfit to live with. Pastor Rick's wife reposted it. I stared at the screen until the battery warning popped up. Unfit. That word isn't just a jab. It's a prelude. To power of attorney. To conservatorship. To legal silence. My finger hovered over the delete button. Then stopped. Instead, I hit screenshot. Then sent it to a new contact. J. Morales, attorney at law. You'll want statements soon. He replied in 2 minutes. Screenshots? Courts like those. I set the phone down and looked at the key again. Still wrapped in scripture. Still sacred. Still dangerous. At noon, I stepped outside the motel. The parking lot smelled like antifreeze and fried chicken from the gas station across the street. A woman was standing by the ice machine, even though it was broken. She smiled awkwardly. Are you the guy from the Facebook post? I blinked. What? Sorry, I didn't mean it rude. I just saw the post. Then saw you. Weird timing. I gave a tight smile. Yeah. Real weird. She shrugged. For what it's worth, my dad lives with us. Not perfect, but we didn't steal his damn house. That got a laugh out of me. First one in days. I went back inside and called the lawyer. Walk me through it, I said. He did. Quietly. Methodically. Step by step. First, we document everything, Morales said. That means digital records, emails, signatures, both legitimate and suspect. Got I said. Second, we file a motion to contest the ownership change. Because you didn't consent, and we can show intent to deceive. And third? We freeze everything. Everything. Utilities. Mortgage payments. Property transfers. Until court decides. They won't see that coming, I muttered. Morales added, most people never challenge their kids. They assume guilt belongs to age. Not me, I said. I'm not asking for kindness. I'm demanding truth. Back in the room, I started compiling. Every receipt, every memory, every document. I even took photos of my wedding ring, my wife's recipe card in her handwriting, the scratch mark on the hallway wall she used to lean on. Proof that I didn't just live in that house. I loved it. They erased that. And now, I was building a new kind of home. One made of evidence and silence and court dates. The phone buzzed again. Linda, once more. New comment thread. They said you stole from them. Said you're hiding money. I exhaled slowly. Then smiled. Because now, I could prove they were lying. Jordan hadn't just stolen my name. He'd stolen my peace. And in doing so, handed me permission to burn every bridge back. The posts kept coming. People from the neighborhood chimed in. Some believed them. Some didn't. But all of them watched. Public fallout was no longer dinner table gossip. It was digital wildfire. I picked up the key from the Bible again. Turned it in my hand. Held it to the motel window, watched the light bend through the metal. "You were never just brass," I whispered. "You were a promise. And now? Now, you were a weapon." I hadn't spoken, but they'd already begun rewriting my story. I still remembered every password. I may not have been welcome in my own home, but I built its financial backbone: retirement accounts, insurance policies, utilities, even that emergency bond we never touched. They thought moving me out was the end. It was the key that reminded me it was only the beginning. At the motel desk, I asked for an envelope and a quiet corner. Then I spread out my tools. Bank login. Retirement portal. Power company account. My late wife's just-in-case savings. And beside it all, my key. Cold. Faithful. Not for opening doors now. For marking vaults. The first move was the utilities. I logged into the gas and electric accounts. Still under my name. They hadn't bothered to change them. Too busy showing off online. I clicked Edit Billing. Paused. Typed Jordan's email into the notification field. Then set a disconnection notice for 72 hours. I hit Save. Let him explain why the lights go out right before his parents arrive. Next, property insurance. Still under my policy. I removed the property from my coverage and marked it under legal dispute. That alone would make their bank sweat. Then I tackled the credit card. Jordan had once asked for an emergency backup in my name. Said it was just for groceries when my daughter was between jobs. I never saw the bill. Until now. $843 at Home Depot. $399 at a spa. Multiple Amazon purchases, TV mounts, curtain rods, expensive skin serum. I called the issuer. "Fraudulent charges," I said. The woman on the line asked for my address. I gave her the motel. She paused, then said, "Got it. Temporary residence. We'll flag the card and send new one here." "Cancel the old card entirely," I said. "Cut it off." Done. Then came the pension contact. They still had my daughter listed as secondary beneficiary. My late wife added her after her diagnosis, an act of trust. I removed it. Replaced it with the local veterans charity. She wouldn't even know until she needed it. My final move? The shared cloud account. When my wife passed, I uploaded all our family photos there. Jordan had linked it to their smart home system, photos cycled on every digital frame. I removed my permissions. And then deleted the archive folder. The only backup was on my thumb drive. Let them decorate the house with blank screens. It was nearly midnight when I finished. I sat on the edge of the motel bed, staring at the glowing laptop. Then I clicked Refresh on the bank portal. New note under mortgage. Escalation alert, co-owner flagged legal inquiry. I smiled. One step closer to freezing the account. The phone buzzed. Blocked number. Voicemail. I played it. Her voice, low, frantic. "Dad, why are the lights off? The gas? Did you? Please, just call me. Please." Click. Then another. Jordan this time. Less calm. "Are you kidding me, man? You freezing stuff? Real mature. You're gonna regret this." Click. I whispered, "You first." The motel clerk brought me coffee the next morning without asking. "Looks like you've been up all night." I nodded. I had work to do. She grinned. "You're like one of those guys in movies. Quiet. Dangerous. I raised my cup. Only when provoked. I checked the screen one last time. Clicked the tab labeled Family Fund, an old savings bucket I used to keep for big gifts. College. Weddings. Emergencies. It was down to $62.41. I renamed the folder. Final Lessons. And locked it. No one else could access it now. Not until the court decided who was family. I sat back, stretched. It wasn't everything. But it was enough to make them feel it. Powerless people don't shout. They pull plugs. The screen blinked red, access revoked. Their world just shrank. Before we go on, make sure you've subscribed. And tell me in the comments, would you have pulled the plug like this, or waited longer? Anger travels faster than guilt. The voicemails came like thunderclaps. First hers, then his. Then hers again. None of them asking how I was. All of them demanding I undo what I'd done. By mid-morning, I'd logged 20 missed calls. 5 texts. 1 email that started with "This isn't fair" and ended with "You'll regret this." Regret? Regret is trusting someone to hold your name, and watching them turn it into leverage. I ignored them all. Until I heard the motel clerk knock softly on my door. "Sir," she said, holding out a small manila envelope. "This came for you. No return address." Inside, a folded paper and a brass key. Not the clean fake I'd been carrying. The real one. Mine. The one that used to sit in the top drawer by the flashlight and old menus. There was no note. Just the key. I held it like it had a pulse. The note inside wasn't from her. It was from Jordan. Typed. Precise. Sharp. "You've made your point. Let's talk before this gets worse. No lawyers. Just family." I laughed once. Dry. He always wanted control, even when pretending to surrender. I laid the key on the table. It didn't feel like an olive branch. It felt like bait. That night, I heard movement outside. Not footsteps. Paper. Sliding under my door. I waited until it was silent again, then picked it up. A single sentence written in marker on the back of a takeout menu. "They're here. Clerk." I looked through the peephole. Nothing. Then I checked the window. Across the lot, their car idled. Jordan at the wheel. My daughter in the passenger seat, head down, rubbing her forehead like she was trying to erase the headache that was her life. They didn't knock. Just waited. I didn't go out. They left after 20 minutes. Next morning, the motel phone rang. Not my cell. The landline. I picked up. "This is Detective Alvarez," said a deep voice. "We've had a report of potential financial fraud regarding a shared household account. Mind if we ask a few questions?" Fraud. I sat down. "Who reported it?" "I'm not at liberty to say yet. But the complaint involves sudden financial cutoffs, unauthorized disconnections, and manipulation of joint funds." I let the silence stretch. Then said, "I'll be happy to answer when I speak to my attorney. I'm sure you understand." He hesitated. Then said, "Of course. We'll follow up." I hung up. They'd gone there. Police. Jordan didn't want peace. He wanted punishment. He wasn't trying to heal the family. He was trying to paint me as the aggressor. I walked outside, stood in the lot, watched traffic drift by on the highway. The clerk came out, holding a bag of trash. She looked at me. "They the kind who burn your house down and then file a noise complaint?" I smiled grimly. They came to fix their image, not the damage. At lunch, I called Morales. He wasn't surprised. "They're testing your threshold," he said. "Trying to make you blink." "What do we do?" "We file first." "On what?" "Fraud. Property manipulation. Emotional coercion, if we want it public." I thought of her face. The tremble when she said, "You looked tired." "Not yet," I said. "Not unless they force me." He paused. "They might." "I know." I looked down at the key on the motel desk. Still warm from my hand. Still no weight. I turned it over. Still mine. But not really. Late that evening, another voicemail arrived. This one from a blocked number. "Jordan again. I don't know who you think you are, man. You cut us off like we're strangers. You humiliated us. My parents show up tomorrow and you've made it look like we're squatters." He took a breath. "I don't lose. And I don't beg. But she's crying every night. You think that makes you right? You think this is justice? You're a damn coward." Click. Coward. That word never stung when it came from men like him. Because cowardice isn't walking away. It's watching someone torch your life and staying quiet to keep the peace. The next morning, I took the key back to the front desk. Told the clerk to lock it in the motel safe. "Why?" she asked. "Because I'm done carrying symbols." I walked out before she could ask what that meant. But I knew what it meant for me. It meant I no longer needed to hold proof. I was becoming it. The clerk slid a note under my door, "They're here." The church parking lot smelled like old leaves and gasoline. I wasn't there for service. I was there for answers. Pastor Rick walked out the side door just as I stepped from the sidewalk. He flinched like he'd seen a ghost. "Didn't expect to see you," he said, adjusting his collar. "I saw your wife's post," I said flatly. He raised his eyebrows. "Ah. She said I abandoned my family. That I was spiraling." Rick scratched the back of his neck. "That was, relayed information." "From who?" He didn't answer. We both knew that. I looked around. Half a dozen parishioners lingered near their cars, watching from the corners of their eyes. One even whispered something behind her hand. Public fallout doesn't need volume. Just witnesses. "You prayed at our table," I said. "Told my daughter we were a family of forgiveness." "We are," he said quickly. "But I also believe in accountability." "Good," I said. "Then hold them accountable." He blinked. "Excuse me?" I took out my phone. Showed him the screenshots. The forged login. The deleted photos. The power shut-off alert. He scrolled slowly, reading. I added, "They're telling the town I'm senile. That I couldn't manage the house. That I stormed out. But the only thing I stormed was their illusion." Rick handed back the phone. His face had changed. No longer calm. "I didn't know," he said. "No one ever does," I replied. "Because people like Jordan are careful. They don't stab. They uninvite." He rubbed his eyes. "I'll speak to my wife." "No need. Just stop spreading smoke." I turned to leave, but paused. "They gave me back the key," I added. "You know where it is now?" He shook his head. "In a motel safe. Like it's too dangerous to hold." Rick looked stunned. "Why would you lock it away?" "Because symbols don't need to be carried. They just need to be remembered." I was halfway across the lot when I heard someone call my name. I turned. Jordan was there. Standing next to the family car, shirt wrinkled, tie half knotted. My daughter stood beside him, arms folded, eyes locked on the asphalt. He walked up fast. Too fast. Enjoying your little performance, he hissed. I'm not the one posting rehearsed apologies on Facebook. You humiliated us. No, I said. You did that the second you tried to erase me. He laughed bitterly. You think this makes you strong? Shutting off power? Freezing accounts? I think it makes me seen. People were watching now. A few feet away, Pastor Rick stood still. Listening. You want a fight? Jordan asked. No, I said calmly. I want facts. I want accountability. And I want my name back on the deed you tricked me off of. That house is ours now. No, I said. That house was built with calloused hands and sleepless nights and mortgage payments that didn't skip even when cancer did. My daughter's face crumpled. He stepped forward, lowered his voice. This isn't over. It never is, I said. Not with people like you. He leaned in. You'll regret this. I looked him dead in the eye. His promise? You'll regret this. Mine? I already don't. The air in Morales's office smelled like cedar and ink. Stacks of case files lined the walls, but his desk was bare, except for two things, my evidence folder and a cup of black coffee he hadn't touched. You ready to go through with this? He asked, tapping the manila folder gently. I nodded. Every word in there is a bruise. Time to show where the fists landed. He opened the file. Inside, screenshots of altered mortgage records. Bank statements. Account logins. The voicemail threats. Even the note Jordan slipped under my motel door. And taped to the final page, a photo of the key. Taken right before I locked it in the motel safe. A relic, I said. Turned into a weapon. Morales raised an eyebrow. They gave it back? Unasked. But not unwatched. He nodded. That helps. Shows inconsistency. If they believed you were unstable, why return symbolic control? I leaned forward. Let's bury them in their own footprints. He filed the motion that afternoon. Contesting the mortgage amendment. Requesting a hold on all property transfers. Petitioning for a judge to review digital fraud allegations. This'll scare them, Morales said. They're not ready for court. Good. He added, and will request a deposition date. If they don't appear, we escalate. No sheriff yet, I said. Not yet, he agreed. I left his office and walked 3 blocks to the public library. Sat at the computer terminal. Checked every account one more time. Confirmed every block, freeze, and restriction. Then I opened a new document. Titled it. Declaration, What They Took. Not for the court. For me. For the record of my soul. When I got back to the motel, the clerk waved me down. You got a certified letter. I took it. Inside, a cease and desist from Jordan's lawyer. Accusing me of unlawful interference with joint property. Emotional distress. Reputational harm. I smiled. The envelope also contained a mediation suggestion. Private. No judge. No record. I read the paragraph twice. Then tore it down the fold. That evening, I called Morales. Got their counter. Cease and desist? Yep. Expected. It's posturing. I want to respond. We already did, he said. Today. With real paper. And legal teeth. The motel light flickered again, just as I set the letter on fire in the ashtray. Watched it curl, blacken, vanish. Power without truth is gasoline. All they'd done was give me a match. Later that night, Morales texted. Court will summon them first. Watch for delivery updates. No sheriff yet. But the law had finally entered the chat. And this time, it was on my side. Court will summon them first. They always say you can't see the cracks until the paint peels. Jordan's facade didn't peel. It shattered. It started with the HOA notice, the kind they stick to your door like an accusation. A neighbor sent me a photo. Failure to maintain landscaping. Trash visible from curb. Power complaints. I smiled. Utilities had been frozen for 8 days. Then came the Facebook status change. From feeling grateful to taking a break. Comments were turned off. One neighbor messaged me. Is everything okay over there? I saw police at the house last night. I hadn't called them. The system had. Turns out, when your utilities get flagged for irregular billing activity and an elderly person is listed as a previous co-resident, the cops drop by. They found no elder. Just ego. Creditors began circling, too. Turns out Jordan's emergency card wasn't the only thing in my name. I got a call from a furniture company asking if I'd approve a second living room set on my home improvement line. Denied, I said. And the first one, they asked. Report it. I sent the paperwork to Morales. He filed it within the hour. Then came the confrontation. Not planned. I was walking out of the post office when I saw their car parked crooked in the lot across the street. I turned. Too late. Jordan was already halfway to me, face flushed. She followed 2 steps behind, slower, uncertain. We need to talk, he snapped. I didn't stop walking. He caught up. Grabbed my arm. Don't touch me. He let go. You freezing the house funds was a mistake, he said. You're screwing everything up for her parents' visit, for our refinance. I laughed once. You mean for your image? Don't be petty. Don't be a thief. She flinched. He reached into his coat pocket. Pulled something out. Threw it at my feet. The key. The real one. You want your precious symbol? Take it, he spat. It's worthless now. He turned to leave. But I didn't move. I waited. Watched them both walk back to the car, backs tense, steps uneven. Only when the door slammed shut did I bend down and pick up the key. It had landed in a puddle. Still cold. Still mine. The key meant nothing to him. But it still meant everything to me. That night, Morales called. They've retained new counsel. Means they're bleeding, I said. Means they're afraid, he replied. And the court? Still reviewing. But it's leaning your way. I placed the key on the motel nightstand. No longer in hiding. Not in shame. But in readiness. They dropped it in anger. I kept it in fire. He tossed the key like garbage. I picked it up like proof. Sunday morning came like a dare. I hadn't planned to attend service. But sometimes, fallout requires a witness. And that morning, I wasn't the one on trial. I sat in the back pew, behind the choir section. Far enough not to be seen, close enough to watch the ripples. Rick's sermon was about grace. But the congregation wasn't listening to the word. They were watching the couple in the third row. My daughter and Jordan. They didn't hold hands. Didn't sing. Didn't look at each other once. After service, in the church parking lot, people circled like flies near a spill. Sister Grant from the choir leaned toward a deacon and whispered. I caught fragments. They say he's suing his own daughter. Not his daughter, her husband pulled something shady. Man built that house himself. 40 years ago. I stepped outside just in time to see Pastor Rick walk toward me. He didn't stop to smile. Just nodded, grave and respectful. then kept moving toward Jordan. At the diner that afternoon, Linda slid into the booth across from me. "You're trending," she said with a half-smile. "Good or bad? Depends on who you ask." She pulled out her phone. A post from Jordan's father. "Family drama is sad. Especially when one man can't accept he's not in control anymore." But the comments told another story. "I heard he forged a document. You don't evict your own father and call it growth. If it's true, he deserves every lawyer he's got." I stirred my coffee slowly. "They're losing ground," she said. "They had none," I replied. "Just noise." That evening, outside the church, I saw her. She stood near the side entrance. Alone. Hands clenched around something small. She didn't see me until I cleared my throat. She turned, startled. "Dad." I nodded at the object in her hand. She looked down. "The key." Her fingers trembled around it. "I didn't come to argue," she said. "Didn't think you did." She stepped forward. "I kept it. I didn't tell him." I raised an eyebrow. He dropped a fake. I held on to the real one." "And why?" She swallowed. "I don't know." I said nothing. Just watched. Her voice broke. "I'm sorry. I let that word hang." "I believed him," she said. "I let him convince me it was help. That we were managing things. But you were never broken. Just grieving." I nodded once. Then asked, "So what now?" She opened her hand. The key lay flat in her palm. "I want to give it back." I looked at her closely. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted reversal. Two different things. "I don't need the key," I said. Her hands shook harder. "I need truth." She nodded. Eyes full. Words gone. Outside the church, she held the key in shaking hands. The town paper didn't print retractions. But they printed letters. Especially when they came from someone with 40 years of property taxes, a church membership longer than the current pastor's career, and a legal file that could make a judge blink twice. I sent it on a Tuesday. It ran Thursday morning. Front page, bottom half, right beneath the town hall remodeling update. Title: "A house isn't a gift, it's a life." Byline: "Withheld by request." But everyone knew. The letter read like testimony. Line by line, I laid it bare. The history of the mortgage. The document signed under emotional pressure. The disconnections, the lies, the staged narrative. Then I wrote about the key. How it had been handed back like a souvenir. How it had once meant home, and now meant betrayal. It didn't name names. But it didn't need to. Small towns read between lines like scripture. By noon, the paper's Facebook page had 300 shares. By dinnertime, Jordan had deleted his profile. By sundown, a deacon texted me. "Didn't know all that. Proud of you for speaking truth." I didn't go out that day. Didn't need to. The world came to me. Linda brought coffee. Rick left a voicemail that just said, "I read it. We stand with you now." And the motel clerk knocked on my door with a grin. "You're in the paper." I nodded. She added, "You want a second copy?" "Frame it," I said. She laughed. "You got it." Around 7 p.m., the phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then listened. Jordan. Quiet. Hollow. "You win. Okay? You win. We can't stay here anymore. Everyone's talking. My job's called twice. Her parents canceled their visit." He paused. You were supposed to fade. Not fight. Click. I sat on the motel bed, letter clutched in one hand. The framed paper leaned on the nightstand. Right below it, the key. Now not a door opener. A receipt. I walked it to the church that night. Pastor Rick met me at the side entrance. Didn't ask questions. Just opened the supply closet and pointed to the old floor safe. You sure? He asked. I nodded. I want it here. He placed the key inside gently, locked the safe, turned the bolt with care. Then said, symbolic? I smiled. No. Strategic. I was erased. So I wrote myself back in. The letter went public. But the silence afterward? That was louder. She came to the motel alone. No car door slam. No footsteps rushed with arrogance. Just a soft knock. 3 times. I opened the door. And there she stood. Pale. Tired. Holding her purse like it weighed more than her guilt. No Jordan. That alone said more than any apology. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She sat on the edge of the chair. Shoulders curled inward, eyes darting like she didn't know where to land. Then she pulled it out. The key. Again. But this time, wrapped in tissue paper. I didn't bring him, she said. I can see that. I left him. I said nothing. She looked up. He said I should try to fix it. That maybe if I apologized, you'd. I don't want an apology, I said. I know. She unwrapped the key slowly. Set it on the desk. I wanted to give it back before. Because I thought it could fix what we broke. And now? Now I know it can't. Silence stretched between us. She stood and walked to the window. They're not returning my calls. My job's threatened. We can't refinance. Mom's name is still in the probate mess because Jordan rushed everything. I didn't say a word. She turned to face me. Please. I know you don't owe me anything. But I don't want to lose you. Too late, I thought. She lost me the moment she chose silence over truth. She stepped forward again. Held out the key. I'm not asking to move back. I'm not asking for anything. Just, tell me what to do with this. I looked at her. Not my daughter. Not anymore. A woman grown crooked by someone else's roots. I took a breath. Stepped forward. Closed her fingers around the key. And whispered. You wanted the key so badly. Keep it. It's worthless now. Her face crumpled. She nodded slowly. Didn't cry. Didn't need to. The silence in her eyes was louder than anything she could have screamed. I opened the motel safe that night. The pastor's key was still there. Mine. The only one that mattered now. The sheriff came during morning prayers. Not with sirens. With paper. Pastor Rick stepped down from the pulpit mid-announcement, walked into the aisle, and nodded solemnly. Sheriff Langston entered like a man walking into fog. Mr. Brody, he asked. I stood slowly. No surprise. No panic. Yes. He held out the envelope. Summons acknowledgement. You're clear to proceed. He didn't speak loud. But churches carry sound like guilt. I took the papers. And for a moment, no one in the pews moved. Except her. My daughter. Sitting 3 rows back. Eyes locked on mine. Mouth open. Key not in her hand anymore. Just shame. After the service, people didn't rush to me. They hovered. Nodded. A few laid hands gently on my shoulder as they passed. Community moves in whispers. But that day, those whispers moved in my favor. The pastor followed me into the back hallway. "You sure?" he asked. I held up the second key. The one she tried to return again. "I don't want it anymore," I said. He unlocked the safe. The first one was already inside, mine, the original, resting on a velvet cloth. I placed the second beside it. 2 keys. 2 paths. Both closed. He turned the bolt. The safe clicked shut. And with it, so did my past. That afternoon, I sat on the church steps, watching the parking lot empty. Rick sat beside me. Coffee in hand. "You won," he said softly. I shook my head. I didn't win. I remembered who I was. He nodded. "Sometimes, that's harder." A little boy passed by with his mom. Looked up at me. "You're the man in the paper," he said. I smiled. "Sometimes." He looked at the church door. "What's in the safe?" I looked at him for a long moment. Then said, "Nothing important. Just a couple old keys." Final killer line. Family isn't who holds the key. It's who knows what it unlocks.